How you doing, man?
What's what's going on, guys? Crazy NFL day on Tuesday. I mean, it felt like the offseason with how much was going on.
Were you? Yeah. How surprised were you as far as Robert Saleh and that firing right off the bat?
I mean, I was surprised at the timing. Like, we all knew that this front office and coaching staff was in danger if they're not winning. I just didn't think it would happen after 5 games and a 2-3 record going into Monday Night Football with a chance to be tied in first place with a win. So the timing was surprising, but this owner going to London, where of course he was an ambassador to the United Kingdom and had all his friends there, getting embarrassed in that country against the quarterback he got rid of was not fun. And he made an emotional decision, I would say. And they're moving on. And instead of firing him at 2-5 when this thing could be over, let's fire him at 2-3 when we still have a shot. So I think that was part of the thinking over here.
Is that what we're settling on as like the real reason for this firing? Is it ultimately comes down to he got embarrassed in London in front of his ambassadorial friends? Like, is that seriously where we are? And I'm not disagreeing, but
I wouldn't say that's the main reason. I mean, Woody Johnson did not hire Robert Saleh. Christopher Johnson did. And he actually considered firing him at the end of last season, but they had this entire meeting and they all agreed, like, hey, we can't really fire this guy when we put all our eggs in the basket of Aaron Rodgers. They only played 4 games. But this has been in the back of his mind for a while. And it basically got to a point where this game, losing to the Vikings, and listen, I don't know if I agree with it. I mean, the defense has been one of the better ones in the NFL. Brian Flores has done a great job against a bunch of quarterbacks this year, and he embarrassed Aaron Rodgers as well. So I don't know if they should have done it now, but I'm sure it definitely played a part of it. I mean, we've seen many coaches get fired after going to London and getting embarrassed there. And these owners, when they get embarrassed, they don't like it. So I think that could definitely play a part of it as well.
There was jokes about that being a thing, but it sounds like that's actually potentially part of the equation there.
getting embarrassed at home is bad. Getting embarrassed in London in front of all the aristocrats, you don't want that.
How does that work for you in your billionaire ranking, Sam? That's a power billionaire
Really
move.
shoots them up. Yeah.
Ari, the NFL trade deadline, it's much later than it used to be. It's not until Tuesday, November 5th, but we're at the point where there's a few 1-4 teams. There's Davante Adams. Who are we looking at? First off, who do we think is going to get traded beyond Davante Adams, and how quickly do you think we might actually hear some of this trade news over the next couple weeks?
I mean, it is early, like you said. They moved it back another week this year. This year, November 5 in the world, we have an election, we have the trade deadline, so that's going to be great. But it's going to be interesting because like the one position that is probably loaded the most is receiver, and there are guys out there. I mean, I'll run through some names. We all know about Davante Adams, and his situation is still ongoing, and it really could happen at any time. But aside from him, like you have Amari Cooper in Cleveland, like all these names I'm going to mention now are in the final year of their contracts. Amari Cooper in Cleveland, DeAndre Hopkins in Tennessee, Zay Jones coming off a suspension right now in Arizona. You could look at a guy like Deontay Johnson in Carolina. Like all of those guys make sense. All of those situations, there's different reasons behind them. Hopkins and Cooper, of course, are on losing teams. Zay Jones, I think the receiver room is a bit crowded there, and he did take visits with other teams before signing in Arizona, including Kansas City, who we know is in the receiver market. And then Deontay Johnson, I know that the Panthers really like him, 28 years old. He's come alive a bit with Andy Dalton, but final year of his contract, like I said, I would imagine that they want to extend him and keep him, but I know for a fact there are a number of teams who would have interest in trading for him, including a team like the Chiefs. So I think that's the one name where a team could get significant value for a player in the final year of his contract.
Yeah, the Chiefs seem like the most obvious one. Do you think, Monday night offense looked really good? They got Juju Smith-Schuster going over 100 yards, Travis Kelce looking pretty good. Do you think the Chiefs are still very much in this wide receiver market?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to see what they're able to do with a player like Juju who cannot figure it out in New England. Kareem Hunt, who of course was on the street all off season long. Like this is what Patrick Mahomes does. But this front office, this ownership group, the coaching staff, they're taking this idea of having a three-peat very, very seriously. And over the last couple of years, they've made receiver moves. Like 2 years ago, they traded for Kadarius Toney. Last year, they traded for Mecole Hardman. Like they were not big moves, but they made something. And they cannot just move forward with this receiver group for the next, 12 games into the playoffs and think everything will go well. They do think Marquise Brown will be back at some point, potentially in the playoffs. So that is good news. Rashee Rice is out for the year, but I anticipate them making some sort of trade. Amari Cooper is very interesting simply because the Browns have already brought down his salary to the league minimum, so any team could easily pick him up and do a trade with them. The Browns are 1-4. Their upcoming schedule is like the Eagles, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Chargers. I mean, it's spiraling out of control a bit in Cleveland, and they just paid Jerry Jeudy this offseason, and they were now looking to extend Amari Cooper. So it's pretty clear that this is his final year in Cleveland. If they keep on losing, I think it makes sense that Amari Cooper is a name that could be traded, and I think he would make sense for a team like Kansas City.
Does the chase for a three-peat, like this historical thing, change Kansas City's potential aggressiveness level? Like we tend to, so the Jets, right? They're going all in for one ring. They're trying to get a championship. The Chiefs obviously have already done it a couple of times now with Mahomes, but they're now chasing history. They're chasing this thing that's only been done in the pre-Super Bowl era. Does that make them more aggressive than they would have been a couple of years ago when they're just sort of chasing a regular championship?
The thing is, the Chiefs, I don't anticipate them going after a name with a big salary. That's not what they're looking to do. Like, even when they traded for Tony and when they traded for Mecole Hardman, like, those guys were not making a lot. Like, the Jets actually paid most of the contract for Mecole Hardman last year. They're not looking to spend a lot of money. This is an ownership group. When you look at cash spending, the way they handle the salary cap, they're not one of those teams that keep on pushing it forward and pay huge signing bonuses and those type of things. So they're not going to look out there to trade. Even if Davante Adams was available for them, which he's not, they would probably not do it under his current contract with the amount of money that he's owed. So they're looking for players who do not have huge base salaries, and that's why a name like Cooper makes sense. I think the one name that they could go after that might be a little bit more expensive would be a name like Deontay Johnson, who is making some money here this year, but he's also, again, in the final year of his contract. But that would be, again, a rental for them. But that's a name where they could see him fitting in the offense, gelling with a guy like Patrick Mahomes, and actually making a huge impact for a team like them. But if we're talking about a big money player, I don't think that's what they're looking to do, but they are looking to add somebody, and I would bet that they will make a move before that November 5 trade deadline.
All right, we heard your phone blowing up a few times just in the few minutes you've been here. We're going to require you to read the text messages that are coming in and break any news directly here on Check the Mic. That's the rule.
No, nothing going on right now. I mean, it's kind of crazy because yesterday, as it all unfolded, like, there was obviously the Robert Saleh element, but there's still like this element that Davante Adams could still happen to the Jets because we're all waiting for that to possibly happen. His situation is like so interesting because the news that has happened over this last day with Davante, it's been like, all right, the Saints just played Monday night, but Derek Carr, his quarterback, gets injured, and they're now in a 3-game losing streak. Does that now take him out of the equation? So that was like a big conversation yesterday, and now you have this entire Jet situation. Does Robert Saleh getting fired have any effect on this? I don't know why it would. He never played with Robert Saleh. The reason he wants to go there is Aaron Rodgers. So that thing is still alive, and I think the Davante Adams situation, which we have not really talked about a lot, it's really fascinating simply because the Raiders are looking for a second-round pick, but they don't want to pay for any of his contract. So it's like, hey, guys, you can't get everything. So are the Raiders going to lower their asking price here in the coming days, or are they going to pay some of that contract? And will the Jets make such a move where, we just fired Robert Saleh, everyone is making fun of us, let's bring in this big name into the offense and bring a bit of a spark into the offense. So that is a trade that we're all like waiting for, and it could happen at any point. And of course, that would be another big shakeup in the NFL if it does happen here at any point.
Woody could set up a conference call with all his buddies and be like, look, traded for Davante Adams. You thought it was bad on Sunday, and that was embarrassing and all, but man, we got Davante Adams now. It's okay. We made a big trade.
Call out the British people?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get the
it's great. As somebody who lives in New York, his timing yesterday of firing Robert Saleh was just perfect because we also have playoff baseball going on right now. So, like, the back pages aren't necessarily dominant by Robert Saleh. There's the Mets winning yesterday. We have the Yankees playing tonight. The Mets are playing also tonight. So, like, it's not necessarily all Jets are garbage right now here in New York. So, the timing was probably perfect for him from a New York sake.
Yeah, you're a Mets fan, is that right, Ari?
I am a Mets fan. We are up 2-1, have a chance to clinch tonight. I mean, this is it's pretty good times right now in New York. We never get to have some good times with our sports team, so this is pretty cool.
Mets are on quite a run for sure. So, Ari, we appreciate you joining us. Tell everybody where they can hear you on NFL Spotlight every week.
Yeah, we have our NFL Spotlight show here on the 33rd team. Every single Tuesday, we have a special spotlight guest, someone in the NFL, a player, a coach, an executive who deserves more recognition, more spotlight, basically. And this past week, we just had Washington Commanders linebacker Frankie Louvu on the show. It's actually going to be announced here in the next hour. He might be Defensive Player of the Week. It's probably him or Dexter Lawrence, but had a huge game on Sunday versus the Browns, 2.5 sacks, a forced fumble, 7 tackles for that Commanders defense. He's a former undrafted free agent, was with the Jets. He mentions in the show how he didn't love football while he was there. He was getting cut, back on the roster, off the roster, and all that. Eventually finds his way to Carolina, gets paid this offseason in Washington. These are the stories that we like to spotlight. These are the players we like to root for. And he was on the show here this week, also spoke about the current Commanders team, Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels. A very good interview there with Frankie Louvu. Every single Tuesday, we have a guest. Every other day, we go around the NFL talking about the biggest NFL topics, the ripple effects it has around the league. So NFL Spotlight, wherever you listen to your podcast.
All right, Ari, thanks for joining us today. We'll do it again soon.
Anytime, Sam and Steve. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.